Hello and welcome to Cleveland News Desk. We are reaching you live from Nigeria's capital city, Abuja. I am Imefonu with this and more. A federal high court in Kano has granted an order stopping the Kano state government from enforcing the Kano State Emirate Council repeal law. Justice Mohammed Liman granted the order in an application by Aminu Dan Akundi, the Sariki Dawaki Baba of the Kano Emirate. Recall that Governor Abba Yusuf had on Thursday reinstated the former CBN governor Lamido Sanusi as the Emir of Kano 4 years after he was dethroned by the former governor of the state, Umar Kanduje. Only about 24 hours ago, Kano State House of Assembly dissolved all the 4 newly created emirate councils in the state, sequel to deliberations on the floor of the House during plenary on Thursday. Kano State House of Assembly lawmakers had repealed the state governor Emir's appointment and reposition law, creating an inroad for former CBN governor Lamido Sanusi to re-emerge. Recall that Abdulateef Abdullahi, a Kano-based journalist and publisher, has called for the creation of a new law that will restrict public office holders from interfering in matters of traditional institutions in the state. Reacting to recent developments in the emirate, especially the dethronement of the 5 emirs and abolishing of the 5 emirates in Kano State following the passage of a new emirate council law, Abdulateef condemned the continuous politicization of traditional offices in the state and is calling for immediate redress. Cleveland News Gloriata has the details.
Earlier this Thursday, the Kano State House of Assembly dethroned 5 emirs and abolished the 5 emirates in the state following the passage of a new emirate council law by the House, technically dethroning Alhaji Aminu Ado Bayero as Emir of Kano and recognizing former CBN governor Lamido Sanusi as the Emir, sparking mixed reactions across quarters. Recall that Alhaji Aminu Ado Bayero and the 4 emirates in the state were established under a controversial 2019 law. The law, which created 5 new emirates, was first assented to by ex-governor Abdullahi Umar Ganduje on December 5, 2019. Sanusi, who became the 14th emir of Kano, was removed on March 9, 2020 by Ganduje's administration. He was then banished from Kano and sent to Loko, a remote community in Nasarawa State, by the administration of Governor Ganduje. The Ganduje administration thereafter added 4 new emirates to make it 5: Bichi, Karaye, Rano, Gaya and Kano, all as first-class emirs. The present State Assembly, however, this Thursday abolished all the new emirates created by former Governor Ganduje. Reacting to the developments in the state, a Kano-based journalist and publisher lamented the politicization of traditional offices in the state and is calling for a law to address the issue.
It's unfortunate that the seat of Kano Emir of Kano, has been politicized. In the sense that in the first instance, it was first subsidized by the administration of the immediate past administration, Abdullah Umar Ganduje, that decided to come up with Kano Emirate law that balkanized the Kano Emirate into 5 emirates then, because the due process were not followed. And it was very clear at that period that it was a bit of vindictiveness between him and Mohammed Sanusi that he led him to doing that. Because by the time it was even part of the campaign statement of Rabi Musa Konkoso, the NNPP presidential candidate in 2023 general election, that immediately they win the election, if NNPP wins the election in Kano, that they will restore Sanusi as the Emir and dissolve the other emirates. Those were part of the statement they made even before they came in. So when they came in now and they're doing this, it's not new. But the unfortunate situation right now is the fact that that means that any other government that comes in can as well do the same thing. So that means that the stool has been politicized and the essence, the traditional value and respect for that position is already been eroded. We've seen this play out in KOGI State when the former governor Yaya Bello removed some traditional leaders because he assumed that they made their party to fail in their area during the gubernatorial election. Bello did it, and some governors too did it in other places. So politicians have been politicians have been playing with the stool of traditional rulers. So in this situation now, traditional rulers have become a pawn in a chess game for politicians right now. Except if we have a situation whereby there is the law that prevent politicians from appointing traditional rulers. If we don't have a situation like that, because you see, in every state, it is the governor that has the final say on the appointment of any first-class traditional rulers. So that is the problem.
He added that residents of the state are, however, anticipating reforms that would bring the much-needed socio-economic development.
Traditional leaders do not really have any constitutional role that they play in our politics, rather than giving advice and guidance to political leaders. Now, what will happen is definitely he will use his clout, his contact, his personality to make development work for Kano. That is expected.
Reports reaching Clearview News Desk says Aminu Bayero reportedly on Wednesday, May 22, fled the palace and Kano to Ijebu and is presently in Ilorin.
Against the backdrop of high rates of crime among Nigerians, the executive chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, Ola Olukoyade, has called on religious leaders in Nigeria to take a more active role in the fight against corruption and cybercrime. The EFCC boss, who gave the advice at the first quarterly meeting of the Nigeria Inter-Religious Council in Abuja on Thursday, emphasized the crucial role religious leaders play in shaping the moral fabric of society and urged them to use their influence to promote integrity and transparency. Clearview News correspondent was there and now tells us more. Statistics have indicated that 60 years since independence, corruption has cost Nigeria's economy more than $550 billion. At the first quarterly meeting of the Nigeria Inter-Religious Council in Abuja, the EFCC boss, Ola Olukoyade, who was represented by the Commission's Director of Public Affairs, Wilson Owojaren, lamented that despite Nigeria's rich human and mineral resources, corruption has hindered the country's development, urged religious leaders to preach not just prosperity, but also integrity and to lead by example.
As a deeply religious society, we believe that religious organizations and their leaders have crucial roles to play in inculcating morals, which is the foundation of integrity and accountability in the conduct of private and public affairs.
One major problem which we have is that there are people that have information about corrupt activities, but they are afraid of coming forward with information because of fear of what will happen. And in my view, religious leaders should give that opportunity to people to report to them.
With the theme, the role of religious leaders in combating corruption and cybercrime, the Sultan of Sokoto, Muhammadu Sa'ad Abubakar, co-chair of NARIC, said poverty and hunger in Nigeria had gotten to a point where some people could commit any kind of crime, including murder, for as little as 500 naira. He therefore appealed to the government at all levels to rise to the occasion and improve the living standard of the people. Similarly, President of the Christian Association of Nigeria, CAN, Archbishop Daniel Oko, co-chair of NARIC, used the occasion to encourage his fellow religious leaders to join hands in the fight against cybercrime and corruption by speaking against the evils of corruption at their various religious events.
I think we need to find out, we need to commission a study to find out why we're always beleaguered with corruption. Everybody who comes to an office, he gets rich overnight, and when he leaves office, he becomes a multi-billionaire with private planes and whatever. And then nobody bothered to find out how he made that money. And he becomes a big man, and that's what happens. And this will continue as long as we keep on having office holders that will come in and become lords and do what they want to do, give whom they want to give, deny whom they don't want, And the issues continue like that. Let's pray for God Almighty to touch the heart of our leaders so that they will do the right thing for the common man to have a decent life in his life, so that when he now performs his religious duties, he will be able to say, yes, I have done my best.
The challenge and the task before us, therefore, is to give a strong and clear moral leadership to bring down the altar of materialism and champion the movement to change the orientation that worships materialism in our people, so that systemic corruption can be reduced to the lowest levels.
Meanwhile, the secretary to the government of the Federation, Senator George Akume, who expressed his deepest sympathy with Nigerians over the resultant hardships they are currently passing through, said the administration of President Tinubu remained focused on saving the economy through the implementation of programs under the Renewed Hope agenda.
At the same time, the government has left no stone unturned to positively change the trajectory of our economy and to take sustainability measures. I'm pleased to report that over the past 1 year, this administration has addressed several sectors that impact directly on the people, and are also required as foundation for future development.
The Nigeria Interreligious Council meeting brought together religious leaders from across the country to discuss the role of religion in combating corruption and cybercrime in Nigeria. Today, Clearview News Desk beamed the spotlight on the Nigerian Air Force as it marks its 60 years of existence and steadfast service in the defense of Nigeria's territorial integrity. Let's now join Clearview's Gloriata as she goes down memory lane to bring us details of how the Nigerian Air Force metamorphosed from being the youngest branch of the Nigerian Armed Forces to one of the most elite forces on the global scene.
The Nigerian Air Force is the youngest branch of the Nigerian Armed Forces and one of the largest in Africa, consisting of over 18,000 personnel as of 2021 and a storehouse of several aircrafts, attack helicopters, armed attack drones, and military transport aircrafts. The idea of establishing an air force for Nigeria was originally proposed in 1958, but the idea didn't see the light of day as many lawmakers at the time preferred to rely on the United Kingdom for air defense. However, the Nigerian government began to have a rethink during peacekeeping operations in Congo and Tanzania, when the Nigerian army had no air transport of its own, creating the need to establish an air force actively supported by modern facilities to provide full complement of forces to enhance the nation's military posture. And so, in early 1962, the government agreed in principle that the Nigerian Air Force be established. The Nigerian Air Force was formally established on 18 April 1964 with the passage of the Air Force Act 1964 by the National Assembly. The act stated that the Nigerian Air Force shall be charged with the defense of the Federal Republic by air, and to give effect thereto, the personnel shall be trained in such duties as in the air as well as on the ground. The NAF was formed with technical assistance from then West Germany, now Federal Republic of Germany, following the reunification of West and East Germany. The Air Force started life as a transport unit with the first air crew trained with the Ethiopian Air Force. The second set underwent training in February 1963 with the Royal Canadian Air Force, while some were sent to the Indian Air Force. The head of the German Air Force Assistance Group was Colonel Gerard Katz, and he became the first commander of the NAF. The nucleus of the NAF was thus established with the formation of the Nigerian Air Force headquarters at the Ministry of Defense. While the Nigerian Air Force was still at its infancy as a fighting force, the laudable plans made by the German Air Force Assistance Group were prematurely put to test barely 3 years after its establishment. The inexperienced Air Force assumed the role of a well-established Air Force in order to prosecute the Nigerian Civil War in close collaboration with sister services. At the stage of its existence, the NAF was only equipped with a few aircraft. As the war progressed, some fighter aircraft such as MiG-15 and 17 were acquired to help bring the war to a speedy end. The Nigerian Civil War came to an end in 1970, and there was the need to reorganize the Nigerian Air Force and upgrade its equipment. In order to strengthen itself, the NAF between 1981 and 1990 acquired additional aircraft types of advanced technology. With the acquisition of new weapon platforms, there arose the need to train personnel to man and maintain the new aircraft types. This led to the NAF reorganizing its training aspects in all NAF trade specialties. Following the expansion of the NAF over time and the need to enforce all international laws and conventions relating to space activities in the Nigerian airspace, the federal government promulgated Decree 105, Armed Forces Amendment Decree of 23rd August 1994, which provided additional roles for the NAF, including enforcing and assisting in coordinating the enforcement of international law, conventions, practices and customs ascribed and acceded to by Nigeria relating to aerial or space activities in the Nigerian airspace. Currently, the Nigerian Air Force is headed by the Chief of Air Staff, Air Marshal Hassan Abubakar, who succeeded Air Marshal Isiaka Oladayo Amawo in June 2023 as the 22nd Chief of Air Staff. At a recent event to commemorate the 60th anniversary of the NAF, Air Marshal Hassan Abubakar said the Nigerian Air Force has become a force to reckon with globally in its 60 years of existence, from tactical operations to personnel welfare, to mention a few, and reiterated the Air Force's commitment to addressing the myriad of security challenges confronting the nation.
We are a very formidable Air Force, arguably one of the best on the African continent, one of the biggest also. So we have come a very long way. We have every reason to celebrate. We have every reason to be happy at 60.
Clearview News Desk celebrates with the Nigerian Air Force on its 60th anniversary celebration and honors its commitment in safeguarding Nigeria's sovereignty, ensuring national security, and contributing to peacekeeping missions both regionally and globally. Gloria Atta, reporting for Clearview News.
The Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) has called on state independent electoral commissions to ensure the conduct of credible local government elections is free from the influence of ruling parties. INEC Chairman Mahmoud Yakubu, who made this appeal during a courtesy visit by the Forum of State Independent Electoral Commissions in Abuja, emphasized that both INEC and state independent electoral commissions are constitutional bodies with distinct powers to organize and supervise elections.
Our shared responsibility for the conduct of democratic elections in Nigeria and the challenges faced by the state independent electoral commissions in carrying out their mandates, INEC encouraged the establishment of FOSECOM in a genuine effort to foster partnership for credible elections in Nigeria. Over the years, attempts were made to encourage the sides to maintain their independence. We signed an MOU under which assistance in the form of training, provision of some facilities, the institutionalization of the culture of planning through the development of strategic plan, holding regular meetings with stakeholders, encouraging the state independent electoral commission to participate in our retreats, and accrediting your officials to observe our elections. We also established a joint INEC FOSECOM consultative committee headed by a national commissioner. All these initiatives were proposed and undertaken in the firm belief that by working together, the 36 state independent electoral commissions will leverage on the experience of INEC for a progressive improvement in the conduct of local government elections in Nigeria. Consequently, many Nigerians mistake the SIEX for INEC. Indeed, even some of the stakeholders, including candidates for local government elections, call the SIEX state INEC. This situation has forced us to reconsider some aspects of our relationship with the state electoral commissions. Our support is now largely restricted to the voters' register as provided by the Constitution. INEC cannot shoulder its own extensive responsibilities and at the same time extend almost limitless support to other independent electoral commissions for elections that fall outside our mandate and across the country from our lean federal budget.
The INEC chairman urged state governors to grant state independent electoral commissions greater autonomy and resources to conduct independent elections. INEC says its aims is to strengthen Nigeria's democracy and ensure that the voice of citizens are heard through credible elections. The commission encourages partnership and collaboration with the state independent electoral commissions to achieve this goal.
The joint INEC Second Committee was formerly headed by Dr. Adekunle Ladipo Ogunmola, with Mariam Iya Musa as secretary. This committee held its meeting last on the 5th of February 2022 at this commission's headquarters. The forum was also represented at the meeting with the National Assembly on electoral reforms that was held in Lagos. We request that the committee be reconstituted to give it more impetus and new direction towards achieving the core objectives of conducting free, fair, and credible elections at all levels. There is the dire need to develop a new strategic work plan for support, not to effectively operate with a strategic plan that captures current and emerging issues in election. We hereby register appreciation of INEC's support to the struggle of SEX towards financial independence. We strongly believe that our financial independence is not only achievable, but a sine qua non for various local government elections in Nigeria. Second has again recently submitted a memorandum to the National Assembly Committee on Constitutional Amendments. We solicit INEC to throw its weight behind our quest for true independence.
You can follow up on latest events and happenings around you via social media platforms on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at Clayview News Desk, or via our handle on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Clayview Online.